Years ago, I collapsed as a result of a grade 5 brain aneurysm. And I'm fortunate that I collapsed in my brother's arms because he gave me mouth-to-mouth and CPR. He knew what to do and drugged me to the health aide, and she gave me 2 cylinders of oxygen. And an ambulance came from Glen Ellen, took me directly to Providence, and I was sent directly to Harborview, where I spent 11 hours of reconstructive brain surgery and 3.5 weeks in Seattle hospitals.
I have a TBI. The biggest thing that I've noticed is a lot of people don't understand the TBI because they look at us and they think that we're all right, but we really aren't. We have things that bother us as far as light sensitive, being in crowded places, going to malls, and so many people there.
I got a bad car wreck, paralyzed, still partially paralyzed left side of the body all the way down. And
TBI are the initials for traumatic brain injury, which can come from all types of different causes. My particular one, a cow moose kicked me in the head while sitting on an ATV out in the brush and put me on the ground, and then she proceeded to stomp my back and break 7 of my ribs and my collarbone and collapse a lung and lacerate a spleen.
And when my sister was about 18 years old, she was 18, she was hit by a car when I was 10. And so brain injury has just been part of my vocabulary, I guess, since I was a little girl.
Hearing the other sides of the stories about how people got TBI or brain injury has been, again, a real eye-opening experience because, again, I just kind of stereotyped it that we were the worst at it. So
I had a grand mal seizure April of '98, and they found a plum-sized tumor in the front of my head, and they cut it out, and 9 months later I was able to go back to work, but I was only there 5 months before the tumor came back 3 times as big. So then I had a second surgery, and I thought it was pretty tough before, but I couldn't find my backside with both hands and radar after that second surgery.
But in comparison to what I lost, I have gained a whole lot more. And what it was that I really lost was not even worth having. And I'm thankful for what I have gained rather than being resentful over the things I have lost. And I am most appreciative, not what separates me from society, but what sets me apart. And the reality of a clinically proven brain injury has made that a possibility. And those people who have a brain injury must have the ability to approach and sidestep the obstacles that obstruct their most difficult challenges.
When a TBI happens, it's pretty much common knowledge within the medical field, within the hospitals. And I believe that someone should be notified at the brain injury group here, or at the Access Alaska, or in some of these pamphlets ought to be taken to that patient and, or more importantly, to whomever their health advocate is, whether it be a family member or their neighbor. You know, in today's world, it's always good to have an advocate in a hospital. If not, at least that information goes home with that patient.
I think the place to start would be with the discharge planners. I think that would be the place to work on, and have peer support groups, and have people that have had, like me and other people that have had head injuries, can come to the hospital by the it could be approved by the hospital. It will give people hope.
I would recommend to a person to come into a place like Access Alaska. We have various programs, like we have the Traumatic and Acute Brain Injury Program, in which I do. We have the DD program, we have a wellness program. Then we just have a general IL, which is an independent living advocate. Once we find out what it is that you need, we can sit with a person and we'll set up their goals. You tell me, what is it that you want to accomplish by coming to me? Okay, first of all, you want to get your independence. You want to move away from an assisted living home into your own apartment, or you want to move away from your home with your parents and get into an apartment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you to, first of all, start managing your money. I want to teach you how to catch the public transportation, or either I'll put in the paperwork so you could get set up for Anchorize and they could come pick you up.
One of the events that I volunteered at, we actually got to do played some games with kids that kind of said, hey, this is, they had like the goggles that they would put on that would kind of like impede their equilibrium a little bit to kind of give them an idea of what it was like to have a brain injury. And then we'd play simple games like tossing a ball or moving pegs around in a hole or something. And it was amazing at how well received we were. And we weren't just like some freak show on the side that we're like trying to get some kids to play a game and get some candy, you know. But once they actually saw that, you could see the light bulb come on, and then you know, kind of end with that. So, okay, you know, what sports do you play? Do you snowboard? Do you ride a bike? Do you wear your helmet? And but no, it was in the youth portion of it. I think was the Teen Expo was absolutely a home run for sure.
I think encourage the governor to do the Medicaid expansion. That would help a lot. That would probably fill some of the medical need or the cost of the medical need. And that's not just my opinion, but it's a lot of people.
I cannot lose my benefits. If I lose my benefits, I'm be down in the shelter and not happening.
The one thing that comes up a lot, though, with all of our participants is the fear of losing benefits. You know, once you have your medical benefits or your disability income, there's always that fear of losing that, because if you do, it was so difficult maybe to get in the first place, that to go through that process again, you know. But then again, so many people also say, you know, there's that fear, but then they say, well, I want to get off benefits, you know, I want to support myself. And, you know, some people, they don't need much. It's just, you know, enough to get by day to day.
I think they're extremely important in that they go there and they actually have someone that they can vent to or speak with, share their feelings, and those people that are there have true compassion, not just empathy, but true compassion, because they've either been through it before or they've worked and are dealing with it themselves. And so that group almost becomes a family to those individuals.
I belong to a support group, and I'll tell you what, the support group was one of the best things I ever did, because you go to a support group and there's nobody in there that doesn't know what you have gone through, whereas most everybody else, oh, they can understand, oh yeah, but they don't know what it's like. So actually, the support groups have been very beneficial to me.
My experience has been attending that TBI work group first and third Wednesdays of each month. At first, I just did not want to go in the early days of my recovery, but I have felt that group plays a very important role, not only to help the individual that has suffered the TBI, but also if they're lucky enough and blessed in their lives enough to have family, their support group come to those TBI meetings to help give them an understanding.
I think back to one who is recent, and he is a veteran, and he was involved in a lot of things that he doesn't want to talk about, of course, and he can't talk about. But this was a long time ago, his experience, and it wasn't in wars. But he has had, to me, he's older than me, and I'm like his daughter is age, but to have met him and heard how he felt so alone, and to now where he is he's part of the support group that exists at Access Alaska, and it's one of the families, and I feel like that family at Access Alaska has existed for me too. I mean, the support groups that exist in the state, which there's 7 right now, are really essential, and hearing how he's doing now. I mean, we all have our bad days and our good days, and I like to say it's like sometimes 10 steps forward and 20 steps to the side. It's not backwards, it's just to the side. But I just know that he feels better about where he is.
I'm not saying that peer support takes the place of anything as far as therapy goes, because there's some really gifted professionals out there. I'm just saying that it makes all the other therapies much more effective when people believe in themselves and they have some hope. Because if they don't have hope, you're just throwing resources down the drain. You're throwing them into a black hole of emotional need. And when as soon as somebody gets some peer support, they start to value themselves, and that intrinsic value starts to percolate out. And then they approach all therapy with much more vigor, and they follow through.
And by me working with other individuals with TBIs, I found by me having one, we all could relate to each other really well.
When people need support, many of the people that are there find it an opportunity to kind of give back to the community and help someone else that's struggling through the process. Access Alaska is involved in helping educate the Anchorage Police Department or, law enforcement.
Just because somebody stumbles a little bit doesn't mean they're drunk. And if a police officer, if you're in a workplace and the lights are bothering you, take care of yourself, tell somebody. If the strobe light's behind you, tell the officer if you get pulled over and they're going to maybe invoke a seizure. A lot of officers don't know that.
People really don't understand how a person's life changes when they've experienced a TBI. And so sometimes they can mistakenly, as a police officer trying to do what's right in protecting the community, they will make some assumptions, and they might think that the person is on drugs or alcohol or those kinds of things, when the issue might simply be flashing lights has an effect on certain people, and dizziness and balance and those kinds of issues can affect a TBI person, although he's totally and completely legitimately sober.
The police and the Homeland Security, they have a lot of on their plate, and so the minute they see us, they presume we're drunks or we're drug addicts or we're conning to get out of something.
I'm a very good talker. I get my point across to people to talk to, and I have a speech impediment. That makes it worse because people think I'm drunk or high. No one likes to drunk or to associate with drunk. So, anyways, everything I'm drunk all the time, and I got the point. I just don't care. I just got to keep breathing, keep going on, and making this world.
There's a process of education. And something that I felt that Access Alaska did, they gave us a card that states basically TBI member, and these are the issues. Flip the card over. These are some of the symptoms that can be a problem, and here's a caretaker person to contact.
I'd say that it's really important to have more crisis intervention team training in the state of Alaska. And that's a big message because I hear stories all the time from people who they are having experiences with their brain injury, having difficulty hearing or being really confused. And when they get approached, or when we get approached, it's, that the law enforcement, they're doing their job, and that's good. But approach is really key, and de-escalation is really key. And so that's one of my messages, to really make that a mission.
And I try and tell a lot of people, right now, you can't do what you did before. What do you like to do? What is it that you would like to do? And I'll tell them, well, why don't we try and get you into TVR or DVR so you can find a new field to do what you really like doing.
And it took me 9 years to retool my components where I could function enough, where I could get a job. And I applied for a job with social services. And I was told that I was one of the best life coaches they have ever seen. And I said, why is that? Because I have walked it. And I talk it from a completely different point of view.
I sell gourmet foods right now. My business is Anthony's Authentic Gourmet Foods and Offsite Catering. Okay, and I done a catering job for UAA a while back, and love my burritos I made. Mom taught me to make, and unbelievably, they bought everything he had.
I work on various projects around self-employment for people with disabilities. including BrainWorks, which is our project that focuses on a customized self-employment model for individuals with brain injury. So helping individuals with brain injury to become business owners and start their own businesses.
And you know, you fill out a health questionnaire, and let's face it, when you say you had a brain injury, a brain injury survivor is scarred for life. But even though it may not be the kiss of death, you know what? You know what we all know? There is a distinction, and it is not a real good one. And that's the way it is. Nobody wants to hire anybody who has any kind of a brain injury. I mean, they don't. I've been told that. You're better off in receiving disability payments.
The difficulties after a brain injury and maintaining employment. There's studies out there that say, 73% of people have brain injuries are unemployed after 1 year after their brain injury, which, okay, you might think, well, it's still a year out, they're still in recovery. But you look 10 years out and the number's 66% of people. It's a big issue.
Work on that grants to go to schools or whatever need to go to to be qualified to be a food handler and stuff like that, and get equipment.
Through this project, I think the biggest thing that we're hearing anecdotally from our participants is how it has given them hope. And I still get goosebumps when I say that, because it was just so, that's why we do this, it was so amazing and moving to hear people say that, to say, I came from this place where, I didn't know where I was going or what I was doing, and this project gave me hope. I have a purpose.
So I wrote this when I was about 12 years old and published it later in a high school lit magazine. But it's my perspective of what was going on in my sister's life as a child with my teenage older sister. It's my sister alone, sitting in a corner drinking a milkshake. She doesn't look up or down, she looks straight ahead. Her stare is blank, her look is frail. She looks as if she were to break. Do you want to play a game? I might have said. She doesn't flinch. Instead, she closes her eyes and gives a slight smile. It is a smile of knowing something that I don't. I ask her again with impatience in my voice, and all the while I think and know that she won't. I've asked my parents why she acts this way, why she acts this way, why she laughs at the things that aren't really there. Because of the head injury, they always say, and I couldn't stand it. I didn't care. That's not the way I really feel, though. I love her, she's my sister, but instead of talking to me about the things that sisters do, she sits in a corner alone.
And I was told, you need to rest a lot, but I didn't want to rest. And I fell flat on my face in the living room. And my brother picked me up and said, listen, you better wake up and get a grip. This is a test. And that's all life is, a test. And it is. That's all life is. It's a test. And people who have a disability are being tested more so than most, and I know it. And I like it. It's okay.